So one of the things that I want to do is teach people some of the evasive tactics I have when it comes to being out on a trail. The last thing you really want to do is run into people and do it frequently, because the more people you run into, the more chance there is that it's going to go south. You can't determine the other dogs you're going to run into, so even if your dog's nice, you can't predict everything that's going to happen. Now, during the middle of the day on a weekday, there's not a lot going on down here. Come on, buddy. So what I like to do is find a place where I can do just this, is I can create a triangle of safety. The triangle of safety is your eye on the trailheads that come in, so that if somebody's coming this way, more than likely they're going to be going one of the two ways on the triangle, and you can step off on the third and back off, and then if they go to come down this trail, you can evade them. There's a few ways. Now normally what I do is I spend some time figuring out where those trails are, and assessing them is definitely important before you go there with a difficult dog. You go there with a few easy dogs first, you realize that it's sometimes challenging, let's call it. When you have an easy dog, taking a difficult dog there is not a good idea. And that's what I find, is that a lot of people are doing things that are not good ideas. And they're not good ideas for the dog, in particular, the dog that's got problems. Now, the way I look at it is there's two ways. One is I look at it from your perspective. Your dog is difficult. I understand you're trying to get your dog outside and you're trying to get your dog into a better space by giving it some freedom. The other thing, and the more important thing, is to look at the impact of what your dog does to the other dog. And when you go out and you've got your dog off leash, and all of a sudden there's a person with a dog that's smaller and it's threatened and it's being challenged by your dog, and you're somewhat insisting that your dog's friendly and they don't feel comfortable meeting you on that trail, and they're trying to get around you and get by you, it's not pleasant. And so giving other people some leeway to let them have their enjoyment is also the way I look at it. If you take your difficult dog to a dog park and it's challenging other dogs, I don't have any respect for you anymore, because all of a sudden you're making it very difficult for the people that want to be there. And I have a list that I will actually very specifically go over, so that you can understand what those challenges are and what these people, a lot of times, they need from you. And they need help because their dog is being threatened. And if you're now against them, then there's no help for them. So then they're challenging you and a human, and a lot of times that's where they get upset. And people do get upset out on the trail, and they want to protect their animals, and by all means they're allowed to. People are allowed to protect their animals. And in fact, if you don't protect your dog and another dog comes after it, over time what happens is that they lose their team and they become more aggressive a lot of times, because they have to defend themselves. So I don't like putting dogs in the position of having to defend themselves. That's where they start making bad decisions. So one of my points about creating a triangle of safety around your dog is, before you go into it and before you get to a place where you can feel comfortable, you have to assess around that area, which would be where other dogs are going to come in and out, where people park, and where you can get to. It might sound easy, but sometimes it takes a little legwork, especially in the woods. Now I want to find a back door to a triangle, which is going to be the other direction from where normal people are going. And what you can do then is you can come here and play with your dog, and if somebody's going to walk by, you can gather your dog up. And what I do is actually stand off the trail, so even if they are coming, I've got a way out. Some good trail advice is to understand how the law works. And in Marin County, the laws aren't in your favor. That's what I say. And what happens sometimes is a dog that's a troublemaker, they might be out in the woods and they get into a fight with you. Now what happens sometimes is the opposite of what you think, which is your dog doesn't get hurt. The other dog does. Because your dog's bigger. And a little dog attacks you, and your dog defends itself but hurts the other dog. And in the eyes of the law, what happens is whoever has the vet bill ends up with the case. They win the case. And it's sort of backwards, because if you think about it, the other dog attacked you. So instinctually you think that your dog's not at fault and it's allowed to defend itself. And it's not. Dogs aren't allowed to defend themselves. They get in trouble for that. So that's an important lesson to learn, that unless you know, you find out with a terrible vet bill from a dog that you thought was friendly and got attacked.